I'm going to Kansas City. If I come, I come, I come, I come. I'm going to Kansas City.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Chopping It Up with the Cleavers. My name is Emmanuel Cleaver III.
And I'm Emil Cleaver.
Every Tuesday. Come on, man. Every
Whatever,
Tuesday.
I am the first.
You're the only, so you don't have.
Well,
there's no such thing as first. Unless there's a second.
Uncle Bennett, that's his middle name. That's where I got it from. But I'm officially the first.
Come on, man.
So Emil Cleaver the first.
This was a waste of time. I apologize, everybody, for that waste. Every Tuesday, we drop a new episode. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chopping It Up with the Cleavers. Check us out most places you get your podcast. So some of the big news that's going out, the people in Jackson, Mississippi, and they have a nice young
news because it hasn't really been on the news too
You don't
much.
think so?
I mean, a little bit, but, people in America. But go ahead.
Well, the water in Jackson, Mississippi, there's a huge problem. They have a boiling water order in place right now. I know some folk in Jackson posted online. They turned on the water. You can see just black.
Yeah.
Black
Disgusting.
Texas, what was it? Texas gold tea. Black gold coming out of the water. But if you talk to and of course, you still got the issue going on in Flint, Michigan. So this is nothing new in Jackson, Mississippi. I was reading one article where one resident said every month they have a hot boiling water order. So the problem, of course, this big one happened as a result of flooding, and they say there's inadequate staffing at the city's main water treatment, and just a lot of delayed repairs that have been put off for years. And of course, we're talking about a lot of black folk, just like Flint.
We should have played a game. What community do you think this is affecting the most?
So to see if people can guess,
Yeah,
you don't think they could guess?
Yeah, I know. Well, they probably would have guessed either the black or Mexican. I'm guessing.
Latinx.
Okay.
Yeah, not all of them are from Mexico.
Okay.
But so it's black, and the black mayor, young guy, 39 years old. I was watching him on TV.
Young mayor.
Yeah,
Our mayor's young. No, I forgot.
Yeah, our mayor's young too. But he's just explaining, the infrastructure bill that was passed back, was it last year or the year before last, that money goes to the states. And what the mayor is saying, and what you can read and see about it, it's not anything new, is that the state legislators aren't passing that money on.
What a surprise.
And it probably has to do with the color of the man asking for the money.
Yeah, that doesn't help. Unfortunately.
As well as the color of the people who will just be getting some clean water. So this gets in the whole thing of environmental racism. It's a real thing. Environmental racism, which is where there are policies that are put in place that hurt folk environmentally, but dealing mostly with people of color.
Yeah.
And
I just heard about this phrase about 2 minutes ago while we were preparing for this show.
And
Never heard the phrase.
It's real. I mean, just think about all the things that go on and put racism behind it. I mean, you could do that with anything, but this is a serious problem. The infrastructure in a lot of the urban cities has really gone down. I mean, down. And I know
you don't need research to know that. All you need to do is just drive through those communities.
But there are some very conservatives who are looking and saying, well, these are cities being run by Democrats and cities being run by black folk.
That's what they say about Detroit.
But it's clear to see, if all you have to do is just a little research, and
Just
you'll
a little.
you don't have to spend a whole lot of time. You'll see that the decay in the urban core started with this thing called white flight. And it was then as the cities became less white, and of course, property value and economic base went down, And then the cities were turned over to these black mayors. Like, now, okay, now what you gonna do?
And then they get blamed for
When it was
the
really
inevitable.
Yeah, it was decades of neglect. And then black mayors, black city council people coming in and having to deal with that. And then, of course, with the infrastructure bill, it goes to the state. And if you're in cities like Jackson or Flint or Kansas City or St. Louis, and the list goes on and on, you have to rely on folk who aren't really thrilled about these urban centers. They use this urban center, they blame it for everything. So that's a real thing.
Yeah, and I mean, and the little research that I just did, we're just touching on the surface. We're not even talking about the disease and sicknesses because of this environmental racism. I mean, just think about it. You can't bathe in this water either.
No. But it's also, when you look at the factories and all of that in the cities, it's the pollution in the air. And so there's an increase of cancer in minorities who are dealing with this pollution in various parts of the country in urban areas. In fact, my daughter did a research project where she studied the air quality in the urban core, the suburbs, rural area. And of course, I'm gonna give you one guess. Which area had the highest pollution?
Let me see. Was it the Negro area?
It's where the black folk are.
Man.
And that was just a simple research project. She actually won a national award for that project. But it's real. But the other thing that some folk are denying, I don't know why people are still denying climate change.
Yeah.
California has the highest temperature that it's ever had, that's ever been recorded going on right now. But people are denying climate change.
Yeah, I don't understand. They deny science when it's convenient.
That's what people do.
And only when it's convenient.
Oh, yeah, we believe science, but no, I don't like that.
Didn't you say this stuff like what's happening in Jackson is going to be happening a lot?
That's what scientists are. Yeah, scientists are saying because of climate change, we could see a lot more of this, especially in urban areas.
They're still trying to work it out in Flint.
I know. I don't even know how many years that's been. Think about it. These people are still using bottled water in the United States to wash, to clean, and all of this.
I remember when I went to Rwanda, they said, "Don't drink the water. You drink bottled water." We have this in America, the greatest country in the world,
allegedly.
I mean, third world countries, you can't drink the water there, but you're supposed to be able to drink clean water here. But
you're supposed to. Residents in Jackson said they haven't been drinking the water there for years.
Yeah, I wonder how long it's going to be before it hits us.
Man, somebody should go to jail in Michigan. Yeah. I mean. Well, I did read that the investigation into the Flint crisis led to 9 indictments.
Only 9?
Yeah, it should be more than that. And so they were interviewing the mayor of Jackson. He was like, I don't know. We'll see with the investigation. But probably some people ought to be indicted for that. Because I guarantee some of the suburban areas in Jackson are doing just fine.
Yeah.
Just fine.
So positive vibes to the black people.
Yeah. So,
suffering who don't have clean water out there.
We feel your pain, feel your struggle. God bless you.
Yeah.
And
be thankful for the clean water that you have.
Absolutely.
Because your neighbors might not have it.
Need to really be careful about how we use water, period. Because what scientists is, we don't have an infinite supply of water. And our water, we're going to all be dealing with contamination. Because
there is supposed to be an infinite supply of water, but like there's supposed to be, and I don't know the insides and out in it, but there's supposed to be a way to get a new source of water deep in the core of the earth. It's supposed to be really complicated to do and complicated to purify and all that, but there is more water. But yeah, the current supply of water that we're using now, yeah, that's about to run out.
We don't. Yeah, it's not an infinite supply. So, prayers for our world, but also, I mean, just to show you how crazy it is. Not only is there environmental racism, not only are legislators playing with people's lives. I mean, they think it's a joke not to pass the money down, while people are actually in need of something very basic,
Water,
but what's also crazy,
the most basic.
yes, that 160 people were arrested in Florida because of human trafficking. Disney workers, come on, Disney.
This is America.
Disney.
Isn't this America?
Human trafficking. Teachers were arrested. There was one deputy chief in Georgia who was arrested. 160 people. So we have folk selling other folk as sex slaves. And this isn't, we're not talking about in some third world country.
It's America.
We're talking about right here in these United States.
Well, I mean, it sounds like we're becoming a third world country.
Well,
we have bad water. We got sex slave.
Yeah, and we have mass shootings. Just people just, hey, I just want to shoot up something. So yeah, we might be. I mean, people look at us. We're developed. I guess that means we have structures in place. We have systems, but those structures and systems are passing down. But when you have people whose morals are kind of shaky, it goes back to the foundation of this country. I mean, 160 people, but it's no surprise if I said to you, hey, you never heard the news. Hey, there was a sex trafficking ring, 160 people. What state did it happen in? What would you guess?
What state?
Yeah. I mean, come on.
I couldn't guess what state.
Yeah, Florida always comes to mind when
Well, I
things
mean-
like this. I mean, you
I mean-
heard of Florida Man, right?
Right. But Florida man. Yeah, I did hear that. What?
Florida Man. It was an episode in Atlanta. But if you Google Florida Man, you will hear all kinds of things. Florida Man marries an alligator. Florida. I mean, these crazy stories.
Well, I know
always
about
start
people
with
from
Man.
Florida, but my first thought is sex slave. 160 sex slaves. I wouldn't think that would happen in any state
in the United
That would be
States.
my first thought.
Yeah.
I mean, if you talk about somebody who a man married an alligator, of course I'm gonna say Florida. But I mean, 160 people in a sex slave
Yeah, you wouldn't think
trade.
the United States.
I mean, I wouldn't think the United States.
Well, I guess now we have to. Maybe we're wrong because we need to change
Yeah,
our
maybe
perception
we're
of the
naive.
United States.
Yeah, I guess we're too
But
naive.
I've been living in this country. Something like this shouldn't surprise me about the United States. I mean, we're built on
Slavery.
slavery, oppression,
No, it's not involuntary.
displacement.
No, it's not displacement.
That's what they want to put in the
No,
textbook.
it's involuntary something else, not displacement. Is it? Then it's involuntary
They were
migrants or something. Isn't it?
Anyway,
I don't know, yeah,
but I mean, yeah. So when you boil down to it, I mean, maybe we need to. Well, let me speak for me. Maybe I need to open my mind. Nothing should surprise me about the United States when you think about the foundation of this.
yeah, but I think a
so-called
lot of
great
people
country.
hear something like this and be like, this is terrible news, and then go on, with their day.
Well, that's because we're too detached from stuff like this. I mean, if you don't know anybody that was being sold for as a slave, then it doesn't really impact you. You read a story like this, like, yeah, it was bad, man. I'll pray for those folk. But we move on. This doesn't stop trafficking in the United States. This was just one particular trafficking ring.
Yeah. I mean, but it's like that with everything. I mean, even mass shootings. There hasn't been a mass shooting in a couple of days. We should still be talking about it.
Yeah, no, you're right.
I mean, it should be in the news every single day until there's a solution for it,
Yeah,
One solution,
some things in place. Well, it's going to be several different things because you got to deal with, of course, the mass selling of guns, tons of guns. As Gangstar had on their album, was that Hard to Earn? Yeah. And then you got mental illness.
A lot of mental illness in this world.
Yeah. And well, in this country, people ignore it, shake it off.
Yeah.
Walk it
There's
off.
a lot in this country.
I mean, yeah. How can you be a minority in the United States and not have mental illness?
Yeah.
With all that we've been, if I just think about all of the racist incidents that I've experienced, yeah, I should have mental illness.
Yeah.
And then if you understand systemic racism, I mean, yeah, all of us.
And then now, if you understand environmental racism,
Yeah, and that's real.
they're getting this everywhere.
Everywhere you turn, everywhere you turn. So we'll see what happens with this story. Let me just folk involved in the slave trade, man, leave it alone. Come on.
Man, I mean,
Slave
not leave it
trade.
alone. Something needs to be done to them.
Be smacked.
Man.
Prison.
Yeah.
It's still going on.
No, I mean, I think they need, if they're found guilty, then they need to be slaves.
You think that's the punishment?
7
I
years.
bet you that would change. 7 years slave.
Yeah,
'cause
7
that's
years.
7 completion in the Bible after 7 years.
Yeah, then they're free.
So yeah, that's good.
Hard slavery, not
Yeah.
good slavery, not no nice master.
Would you take one of them?
Yes, I would.
I would take one too.
I would
yeah.
take a couple of them actually,
because I think I could teach them.
yeah, I would.
I could really help them.
Oh, I thought we were supposed to teach them.
I mean, you teach them by showing them, hey, this is what slaves
Man,
do.
they did some
So don't
bad things. I'm gonna treat them like a slave.
Right. So you're basically saying, you see how you feel, the pain and the suffering, the agony that you have.
And what if they did something wrong? Would you beat them?
Well, I mean, that's between me and my slave. So,
Oh,
people, we're just
man.
talking about folk who have been slaves.
People
who
who
have-
be canceled. This is
People
our
who
last
have
show.
participated in
We're
slavery.
not talking about making slavery
No,
a
these are
fun
people-
thing or beating people if they
But-
become slaves.
But I bet if that were the punishment, then I bet a lot of the slave trafficking would stop. Like, now, man, I can't fool with this because I can't be no slave.
yeah,
Especially if I go to one of the Cleavers.
because I'm gonna work them hard, man.
No, they're gonna work.
Work them hard.
They're gonna work. Other news, or something probably hasn't made the headlines, but people in the know may have seen this. There are several athletes who have participated in other sports like football, basketball, who are trying their hand at boxing and mixed martial arts. And for the most part, it's not going well.
So this past weekend,
It's not going well.
we had a couple of
LaVon Bell, and you're talking about LaVon Bell and Adrian Peterson.
Adrian Peterson. Yeah, we had a couple of athletes try their hand at boxing, and
Adrian Peterson, man.
Adrian Peterson did not. He's an all pro on the football field.
One of the best.
He's not a all pro on the boxing ring.
He got caught.
He
and
got caught and he got knocked
went
out.
down.
He went down. But you also this weekend, your boy Swaggy P. What's his real name?
Nick Young.
Used to play for the Lakers. He went in the ring and got knocked out of the ring.
Knocked out of the ring.
Man,
He's not in. He was not in the ring anymore. And I'm not trying to make fun, but man,
what we're saying is the fight started in the ring, and at the end of the fight,
which was very quick.
Nick Young was no longer in the ring,
At the end of the fight, which was the first round.
and it was not by his choice. So,
But then you got to go back to Nate Robinson,
Nate,
who
man.
played for several teams in the NBA, played for the Knicks, won the dunk contest, although that was the questionable years of the dunk contest. Because, I mean, back then you could miss 20 dunks, and I don't see how. I still have a problem with that. How somebody who can miss, I don't know how many dunks he missed, and still be the champion.
yeah. Anyway,
Anyway,
let it go.
yeah. But he fought. Which brother did he fight?
Jake Paul.
Jake Paul. And Jake Paul knocked him cold.
Clean out.
Cold. Jake Paul and his brother,
YouTubers.
yeah, they're
I'm sure that you've heard of them.
yeah,
They're pretty popular.
YouTube. And but they're making a lot of money fighting athletes, fighting old fighters. We'll see what happens when is it Jake that's fighting Anderson Silva or his brother? Anderson
those are
Silva
real-
is 47.
Yeah, those are real fighters. But those basketball players and football players, I mean, there's a lot of them, it seems, lately that are jumping into the boxing, the sports, and I'm not sure what's bringing them over. If it's the money or if it's just the thrill of competition.
It couldn't be the money for Nate Robinson. I mean, unless he wasted all of his money. Yeah, you're right. Or Nick Young, because these are basketball players, so they made a lot of money.
Well, remember Jose Canseco came over to box and didn't go well for him either.
No.
He was put to sleep.
Here's the thing. I think what happens, I don't know. You all might correct me. I think because they see themselves as athletes, and they are.
That's what Nate Robinson kept saying. I'm an athlete.
He is an athlete. I mean, somebody that small who could do the things that he could do. He was a pure athlete. And so I think they think the transition of going over to fighting will help. But the reality is, like Roy Jones says, I'm not going to say his direct quote, but he's like, to go into boxing, something has to be wrong with you. I mean, it's not, you can't have a normal mindset to go into boxing. I remember him and Bernard Hopkins on the way to their Hall of Fame induction. I mean, saying something, I mean, something's got to be a little off. I'm saying what they said. And so these athletes, they're pure athletes, but you got to have a fighter's mentality.
Yeah.
And
get that fighter's mentality.
Much props for them going into it.
Yeah.
But
they should train a little bit more.
Yeah. To jump.
Because,
well, with Adrian Peterson and LeVon Bell, I mean, those were two football players.
Did you see it? Because it looked like Bell had a lot more training.
Yeah.
I mean, it seemed like maybe he had been training his whole career.
Right.
And then just got in there. And Adrian Peterson, just a big, strong, tough, athletic dude, just thought, man, I can beat anybody. But, yeah, look, because the punch that knocked Adrian Peterson out was a pretty slick punch. I mean, he slipped to the left and bam.
Yeah. He obviously he had been training. Looks like he had been training longer than Adrian Peterson. Adrian looked like he may have just, like Gervonta Davis said when he was fighting, I forgot what his name. He's like that one dude in the boxing ring who learned something new and now think he's nice.
Yeah.
So you learn something new. But there have been some football players that have gone into MMA that have had a little success.
Yeah.
So you have somebody like Greg Hardy, who fought in the UFC. He got cut because he lost 3 fights in a row.
Yeah, I'm sure he's gonna fight somewhere else.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. He's 7-4. So I mean, he had some decent success. He probably jumped too high. He shouldn't have started in the UFC. Yeah. And then you had somebody like Matt Mitrione, who also played in the NFL for a few years. He had a little success in the UFC and then fought in Bellator, but I think he's on a 3 or 4 fight losing streak now.
He's retired.
He may, okay.
He's retired.
Yeah, I think he has gone as far as he could go. But it's interesting. Athletes, I guess when you have that competitive spirit in you, you still want to compete.
Lamar Odom. Now, Lamar Odom's success is because he's picking the correct opponents.
Yeah.
His opponents, they shouldn't even be sanctioned fights.
They're not. Aren't they called exhibitions?
Well, I mean, but he's knocking these opponents out. So.
Yeah, he's choosing but he doesn't look real crisp.
No, he doesn't look good at all.
In his fighting.
Lamar Odom, former Laker, he's also boxing. He boxed one of those singing dudes, the NSYNC brothers. Yeah. One of the NSYNC or somebody's
like you said, he's fighting the right people.
Yeah, Aaron, whatever his name was, but he was like 4 feet shorter. And Lamar Odom was letting him hit him in his face. He was just letting him punch. And then eventually, of course, Lamar Odom knocked him out. And then he fought some YouTuber, I think. The YouTuber was like 5'10", 180 pounds maybe. But, Lamar Odom, I think he's 2-0, maybe 3-0.
Yeah. As long as he keeps fighting those opponents, he might be all right.
Yeah.
But as soon as he tries to step up, because his skills – and he's terrible. He's up there older, so he's moving kind of slow.
Well, I mean, he's another guy that he's not in there training for real.
Yeah. So we'll keep watching because I'm sure some others are going to jump in there. One, because fighting the Paul brothers, they're getting a lot of money. I know, and then of course just you get to continue to compete. That's the thing about fighting. You can always find a fight if you have a name. I mean, you can exhibition or whatever you want to call it. You can always find a fight. So we'll see how what other athletes jump into the fighting cage or the ring. It's all interesting. Last week, I'm sure everyone was paying attention, although Serena Williams ended her career. We saw the rise of the first African-American man to make it to the semifinals in the U.S. Open, Francis Tiafoe, who made it to the U.S. Open semifinals. He lost, but he was the first man since Arthur Ashe did it in either 70 or 71. And they played at Arthur Ashe Stadium.
So historic.
Yeah, I mean, it was a big deal. Michelle Obama was there. There's a lot of folk just to see this. I mean, since it's been 50 plus years since an African-American male made it to the semifinals. And hopefully we'll see him when he lost. They said he should be jumping in the ranking because he wasn't ranked very high. But
How
the fact
old
that
is he?
24.
Yeah.
But the fact that he made it to the semifinals, now his stock has gone up. So he should be ranked a lot higher. Probably by the time this podcast comes out, he'll be ranked higher. So we'll see him in the U.S. Open Championship again, the French Open, Wimbledon, all of that, just to see him do his thing. But the fact that he made it made us think of barrier breakers in sports, people broke barriers in sports.
And there were a lot.
Yes. And so we're going to leave a whole lot of people off this list.
And some people that they're out there, you probably look up and admire these people and probably going to be a little upset that we left these people off.
I know, but there are just so many.
Because there are, sports heroes are a little different, but there's so many, of course, we couldn't name them all.
So make sure you let us know. All right, who's going first this week?
I don't know. I can go first.
All right.
So number 5 for me is Althea Gibson.
All right.
The first African-American woman to win a Grand Slam title. So now, I mean, in honor of Serena just retiring, the GOAT, a lot of people would say, most black people and a lot of...
most people, period.
Most people, period. Well, some people still say, the woman that has those other titles.
Yeah, I don't see how you can. But
Well,
anyway.
yeah, we talked about that already. So, Althea Gibson, the first African-American woman to win a Grand Slam title. And, of course, in those days, the 60s, it was a lot harder than it is now. I mean, I don't even know if you all remember. I'm sure you remember thinking about it when Serena and Venus first started. They weren't as beloved by everyone.
Especially the father.
Yeah, they weren't as beloved by everyone as they were, as they are now. So just think about Althea Gibson, how tough she had it, but she was able to use her athletic skills, and her mental toughness,
absolutely,
to break that barrier, open that door for the Williams sisters later on. So Althea Gibson is number 5. Number 4. Let me look at my list. Okay, so number 4, I'm going to have Arthur Ashe.
Arthur Ashe.
First black player selected to the United States Davis Cup team and the only black man to ever win the singles title at Wimbledon, the U.S. Open,
yes, sir,
and the Australian Open. So we're still waiting for somebody else. We need that other black man to go and win those titles.
And do it.
But of course, black people don't get into tennis that much because tennis is an expensive sport to get into.
It's hard. I mean, you got to pay some money.
Yeah, you got to pay money to learn that. When you want to play basketball, you go to the court, you see somebody shooting, you shoot how they shoot, and it's pretty simple. But tennis is a little different. So we haven't had anybody since Arthur Ashe do that. So number 4, Arthur Ashe. Number 3, I got Frank Robinson.
All right.
He was the first black man to manage a Major League Baseball team.
Yep.
And he did it while he was playing.
That's something.
Yeah. You can't even trip off that. So, I mean, you know, back then, baseball was America's sport. I don't know if it still is
No,
now.
football is.
Yeah. So back then, it was America's sport. So you got to give him his props, you know.
Absolutely.
Opening that door. I mean, he opened the door not only to other – well, damn, did he beat Bill Russell?
Did he beat in terms of the first to coach? I don't know.
Manage, yeah. But anyway, he helped open the door for other black people, black men, black women to manage professional sports teams. So that's my number 3. And now that I'm thinking about it, you know, I'm mad that I left Bill Russell off.
Yeah,
He's not on my.
Yeah, it's
he's
like you
not
said,
on
it's
my
a bunch.
list, so I know.
So I'm gonna try to name some folk that you didn't name.
He was the
just
first.
So many.
Okay.
First black to coach in the NBA.
Yeah. So my number 2 is Jack Johnson.
Oh yeah.
Jack Johnson, the first black heavyweight champion of the world. Of course, then they wouldn't let black fighters before, and there was a time they wouldn't let black fighters fight white fighters. So you had a black champion, and then you had the white champion who was the champion of the world. So Jack Johnson broke that barrier. He was able to become the first black champion in the world. People were so mad about it, they brought somebody out of retirement, the great white hype. They brought him out of retirement, and he was quickly put back into retirement. Put back into retirement by Jack Johnson. So giving props to, and at one time, being the heavyweight champion in boxing was the greatest title in sports. There was no better title in sports than the heavyweight champion of the world. So he broke that barrier. Ali, Tyson, Joe Louis, Larry Holmes later would become great heavyweight champions, but Jack Johnson, he opened that door. So number 1, I think it's pretty obvious. It may be obvious. I mean, it was the most, like I said, it was America's sport. Yeah. He's one of the most iconic human beings in America in history, Jackie Robinson. He broke down those barriers in baseball. I'm sure I don't have to tell you much about Jackie Robinson. If you don't know about Jackie Robinson, I don't know. You must not be an American, because you know he's the first African American to play in the major leagues. Then he was very good at it. You know, there's a good movie, Chadwick Boseman starred as Jackie Robinson. Yeah, that was good. Rest in peace to Chad for that. But there was a baseball movie back in the day that Jackie Robinson starred in where he played himself. They used to make those movies back in the 50s. Joe Louis did one as well where he played himself. Terrible actors. But Jackie Robinson, he played himself in a movie. But yeah, I think Chad did a better job of playing him than he did himself. So that's my top 5. Jackie Robinson, number 1.
All right.
So who you gonna name that I didn't name?
So I'm gonna start off with number 5. I'm gonna start off with Lee Elder, and people may not know that name.
Tiger Woods. Okay,
but he was the first black man to play in the Masters tournament. And the reason why that's significant, because you think of golf, you think of wealthy, white country clubs where black people are not allowed.
Aren't there still country clubs where they're not allowed?
Well, they don't say that. You just can't afford it. And then some folk you have to be voted on. So I mean, but owners, sports team owners are like that because the owners have to vote for somebody. You can have the money, but they still have to vote on you. So it is an exclusive club. But Lee Elder played in the Masters. I mean, that was huge. Tiger Woods,
big influence,
Tiger Woods would, of course, he paid homage to him when he won the Masters. But just the fact that it was such an exclusive place. I mean, you go to country clubs today, like you were saying, black folk aren't going to be in them because we can't afford it. And golf is another. Although a lot of black folk play golf, it's still an expensive.
Yeah, they go to the Swole Park golf course. No disrespect. I mean, it's free, isn't it?
Yeah,
or it's cheap.
But some play others. So another one that I'm going to mention that you didn't mention, just because you didn't mention, but very few people know this name, but you should remember it. Her name is Lucia Harris. She won 3 national collegiate women's championships in basketball at Delta State. She was in the Olympic Games and became the first woman in history to be drafted by the NBA. She never played. She was pregnant when she was drafted, but she was actually drafted in 1977 by the New Orleans Jazz to play in the NBA. Never tried out, never went. As I said, she was pregnant. And back then, they didn't make if you played in the NBA, unless your name was Wilt Chamberlain or somebody, you still had to get another job.
Yeah, just like a lot of NFL players used to.
Yeah, but that name, that just the fact that happened, that's how dominant she was in basketball.
Yeah, I've seen video.
Yeah. Another one that I'm going to name, and I think I'll throw it out there. I was going back and forth with this one, but I'll go ahead and say it. Billie Jean King in the Battle of the Sexes. When she fought.
She didn't fight him.
She played Bobby Riggs in the Battle of the Sexes. They made a movie about it, been documentaries about it. Although he goes back and said that he let her win. He got paid.
He was tired, man. Huh? He was tired.
You think he just didn't have the gas?
No, I know he didn't have the gas. He was better. She was tired. He was tired.
But it was a huge thing for women. The fact that he did that she beat him on national TV, that he made that challenge that no woman, and he had beat some other women, professional tennis players prior to that. So the fact that happened, I know that was huge. Number 2 is one that doesn't get enough recognition. Curt Flood, who played for the St. Louis Cardinals. He won Golden Glove 7 seasons in a row. He batted over 300 6 times. He was an all-star, and they wanted to trade him to Philadelphia, and he said no. He said, no, you can't just trade me. Once you think about it, just the team has you, and they can send you wherever you want without your influence. And so he took it to court, and he never benefited from it, but every player today benefits that free agency has now changed. It's not that they can just send you.
He's the free agency.
He's the one who changed free agency in baseball. His number ought to be retired. Everything.
Well, the owners aren't going to retire.
But the baseball players, the union should step up because now they have a say. Before, they could send you anywhere, anytime, nothing. But he changed the way free agency happens, and he has received some accolades before he died. I think he died, but in recent years he received some accolades, but still not enough.
Yeah, it should have been more.
To think about that, he was like, no, you just can't tell me. I don't want to go there. But think about how bold that. Now it ruined his career. It ruined. He never played and he never benefited. But there's now a Curt Flood rule in baseball when it comes to free agency.
Oh, really?
That's what that happens because of him, because he traded. He changed the way it happened. So mad shout to Curt Flood. He was a pioneer. Of course, number 1, it was America's sport. Baseball and America went together, so you had to put Jackie Robinson in there at number 1, simply because he opened up America's sport. I know, as we said, a lot of names left off.
Well, let me say, I mentioned Frank Robinson was the first manager in baseball, black manager. So, but I didn't name the teams. He was Cleveland Indians, San Francisco Giants, Baltimore Orioles. But he started out as a manager for the Cleveland Indians in 1975.
Yeah, and
as a player manager.
What were some honorable mention that you have?
Athletes, I would say in a way you would have to put, I would say Jesse Owens. Just because.
Taking on.
To
Hitler.
Be on that stage at that time, the biggest sporting event in the world.
Yeah, that was huge. I'm thinking of some recent things, even though I have to say somebody like Ronda Rousey. She wasn't the first woman MMA fighter. There were some that came before her, some pioneers, but she brought massive attention to MMA.
Every MMA fighter, woman fighter after her should be thanking her.
I mean, she was still to this day, some of the biggest pay-per-view buys in MMA history were Ronda Rousey, Holly Holm, Ronda Rousey, and Amanda Nunes. Those are the two biggest.
Oh, are they?
So yeah, that's a big one. There are plenty others, and I know you all are some are watching saying, "How could you all forget this?" I know
Doug Williams.
Quarterback in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, we know we missed some. Yeah, there's a few.
There are plenty. So let us know some that we left off. The list is too long. Really need on something like that. You got to do a top 50 and go all the way down just to name everybody.
Yeah, maybe at the end of the year we need to have a top 50 or something.
Gonna have to be a good subject. What subject should we do? Anyway, let us know what subject you want to see us
be combined. If it's 50, we'll have to probably
yeah.
do it together.
But also let us know some pioneers, some trailblazers that we may have left off the list. Check us out every Tuesday. We drop a new episode. Subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Be sure
Chopping
to
It Up with the
We're
Cleavers.
trying to get our subscription up so we can do some bigger and better things. And
that's right.
I know we keep talking about a live show, but it's coming.
It's coming. All right. Peace out.
Peace.
I'm of the miners.